Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. So lovely to speak to you, Axelle. How are you doing?
So nice to meet you. Hi.
Hi. So please tell me about the root of this project. I know it's been a passion project of yours. It's taken a few years to make. But what was it that made you want to make this particular story?
I think there's themes in there that I've always been a little bit obsessed with. Especially, I think that as a kid, I was the kind of child who, when I discovered that we're going to die and that we're going to get older, had a really hard time dealing with those things. And I suspect that's kind of what pushed me into having an interest in horror and the supernatural. It was a nice way of dealing with things that I thought were I couldn't comprehend. And growing up thinking, remembering being a little child and thinking my mom's going to get old. Like, what does that mean? How am I going to process that? And then it actually, I saw my granddad go to a nursing home and then my dad have dementia and end up in a nursing home as well. And so I guess that those fears that I had from childhood somehow had to be expressed in something. And those experiences were very striking and very, again, very personal and very things that I felt the need to channel into something. And it felt like a horror movie was very appropriate for that because horror movies are appropriate for everything.
You've got an incredible cast, but in particular, Barbara Hershey as Judith. I mean, she lights up the screen every time she's there. So what made you decide on her for your protagonist? And, is there something exciting just for seeing an older actress being the main character in a film and, just this massive, amazing grey hair and the red lipstick, she's incredible. So what was it like working with her?
I'm so glad that you felt that way. I think that she's phenomenal. I think one of the things that I really wanted was, again, I think one of the reasons that women in particular are so scared of aging is that we're given so few role models over a certain age. It just feels like we feel women are not useful anymore, or that if you see someone who's in her 70s or 80s, they're very often portrayed to be like little grannies who are cute and they eat biscuits and they drink tea, but you don't see people you can aspire to be and think, I want to be badass like that. And I know many badass women over 70 who are wonderful and who are just not represented in that way on screen. And so that's one of the things that I wanted. And I told Barbara very clearly, like, I think that this is the person I want to be. This is kind of I want people to watch her and to think she's gorgeous, she's charismatic, she's funny, she doesn't take shit from people. She's just like, she is someone you find aspirational. And I think she really liked that. And I think that she really embodied that as well. And she does look fantastic, but she's also brought this little sense of humor to her that's very dry and very she's very likable in person. And I think that that was an important thing to convey on screen as well. And yeah.
And as you were mentioning there at the beginning, it's not just a horror film. It definitely taps into these ideas of our fear of getting older and also how we treat people when they get older, kind of lock them away in the nursing home, forget about them. So, what did you want people to take away from the film? And why do you think horror is such an incredible vehicle for like all this other, subject matter?
Right. One of the things that Barbara and I discussed very early on is that she was very specific that we couldn't make it look like aging was the issue. There's nothing wrong with aging. That's just nature. That's just what it is. What's wrong is the way that we deal with it as a society. It's the way that, like I just said, like that we regard older women in particular as being not being able to contribute to society in the same way that they would if they were 20, or not being as useful or as nicely regarded. And that we almost communicate differently with older people. Those were the questions that I wanted to have people think about if they want to look further than just the supernatural story in this. It was the fact that one of my big inspirations, as pretentious as it sounds, because everybody kind of references that film, is Rosemary's Baby, because it has that supernatural threat. But then what's generally scary and keeps you going throughout is the fact that you have a character whose agency is being stripped away from her little by little. And it felt like that's something that's very relevant to someone who's moving into a nursing home. And our character at the beginning has control of her life. She has agency. She decides to move into that house. And then that's stripped away from her a little bit by little bit. And that's the real horror in the story, I think.
I'm out of time, but thank you so much for sharing all that with me. It was lovely to speak to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.